Quiz time! Which of these angle grinders has been used for cutting concrete? Is it the one on the left or the one on the right? Leave your answers in the comments below.
Okay boys, we got a good one this week. Ho, barely fits on the bench. Now some of you may remember this video that I did. I'm just prizing this out. It's just fighting against the magnets in the brushless motor. Ooh, look at all the dust that's got in there already. Feels resistance, it ramps up the torque, slows down, gets more torque, and helps you cut better. And in that video I said this. I'm wondering if the 7 and the 9 are going to be basically the same unit, just with a bigger guard essentially for you to put a larger cutting wheel on. Not sure, I'd have to look up the specs, see if they're the same sort of specs, and maybe get my hands on a 9-inch one and see if I can compare them both. And now here it is, we've got it ready to play with. I've had it sitting around for a few months now, but I haven't needed to use it because I've got the 7-inch one, so I've been using that. But today we're gonna crack into it. Before we have a good look at this actually, well, I'll just compare it with this one quickly. As you can see, as I suspected, they're essentially the same size unit, but is this one just going to have a different board that tells it different things, different speeds, different torque, that sort of thing? We'll find out shortly, but first of all I need to chop up some stuff, so I'm going to go give it a quick test outside. Yeah, come and have a look. New 9-inch grinder, 2 new 5 amp hour batteries, lock and load.
So let's have a look at some of the specs of this, the DGA900 36 volt 18x2 Makita 9-inch 230mm angle grinder. Size wise, they are exactly the same. According to Makita's website, the weight, or the manuals, the weight is slightly different. I'm not sure if they're including the guard in the weight, but the biggest difference is the speed. This only runs at 6,000 RPM. Whereas the 7-inch over there does 7,800. The other big difference is this is from my part of the world, so it is the Australasian model, and the North American model is quite different in the accessories that you get. When I bought the North American model, it came with no case. If you buy the bare tool, it just came in a box. Whereas in Australasia you get the complete case, which is a huge bonus in my opinion, that's for sure. So the case is massive, it's a very tough case, and the accessories are also different. So in Australasia you get the guard wise, you just get a single guard like this, just a single standard deflecting guard, whereas in North America you get one of these covered guards that catches the sparks a little bit better, supposedly. Some of the other differences between buying the North American model versus the Australasian model is the handles. The one down in this part of the world is a much nicer handle. It's a rubber grip and just feels far sturdier, nice solid handle. It's made of metal and rubber and plastic. This very cheap, hollow, lightweight North American version of the handle. Very different. This one weighs substantially more than this cheap piece of junk. So handle much better down here. Also, it's interesting to note how different countries have different safety regulations in regards to most tools. In particular, angle grinders and nail guns, for instance. Nail guns in New Zealand, framing nailers can't have a bump fire mode. You can in the brad nailers, but not in a framing nailer. You can't have the bump fire, rapid fire, sequential, whichever you want to call it, mode, just in case you accidentally bump the tip and fire off a nail at somebody. Now, the same thing sort of goes with angle grinders. There's different regulations. In New Zealand, for a flat disc like this, you can just put on a nut like that. If you're using a grinding disc, you can just throw it on with those same nuts. Whereas in North America, you get this depressed disc that fits over the top of that bit and gives you an extra bit of support when you're pushing down grinding, which personally I think is a very good idea. And it's a shame that it doesn't come with the Australasian versions. So whichever one of these two tools I end up keeping, I will be keeping this. Of course, comes with a tool as well for getting off your discs. Now to the tool itself. It is heavy. We are looking at a minimum weight of 5.2 kgs, and then when you add on all the different parts, you can get it up to 8 kgs with the batteries and a grinding wheel and the guard and everything on it. Only has 2 side entries for the handle, doesn't have a top handle yet. Hopefully eventually Makita will work out to put one on the top. It's handy to have one on the top, especially when you're doing cutting all day, because holding your hand that way compared to that way, much more difficult. It is a paddle switch, dead man switch, and it's a grinder, and that's about all there is to it. And the case is quite cool. You've got areas in the front here for the batteries, so you can have 2 batteries there, 2 batteries on the tool, 4 batteries in total in here. You can have a double gang battery charger sitting on the top, or a single there. You've got places for both. Open up underneath, you have areas for your discs. You can keep excess guards in this area here, handle up the top there. It's a very good case, but it is rather big and cumbersome, takes up a lot of room in the workshop. Now compare it quickly on the inside to the other one, the 7-inch. On the operating on the operating table today, the 9-inch and the 7-inch Makita angle grinder. Electrically they look identical, so I'm guessing it's all in here. These controllers here, there'll be something in there that just limits the speed. This one being 6,000 RPM, that one being 7,800. But we will pull the heads off as well, just to check the motors to make sure they're the same. I'm pretty sure they will be. I'm sure it's all going to be down to just what's inside this board. Motors are the same. You can see on there 361, exactly the same number that is on this one. All identical. Everything looks from the outside to be exactly the same. Only difference is going to be in there. This one is going to be throttled to keep you at 6,000 RPM instead of the 7,800. Why is it 6,000 and this one's 7,800? Well, part of it comes down to the discs. The bigger your disc gets, the wider this is, the faster it's going. Now I know it's still going the same amount of RPMs, but at the center here it's going at a different amount of meters per second around. Why bigger this gets, if it was out here, this is spinning round and doing 1 revolution in the same time this bit does 1 revolution. So therefore the outside of the disc is moving a hell of a lot faster. This disc is only rated at 6,600 RPM, so you couldn't put it on this tool because in theory it could explode. So that's why your speeds are different. The only differences between these tools physically is the spindle size. On the Australasian versions they are M14, and it'll be like that in Europe as well, whereas North American versions are 5/8. Whereas North American versions are 5/8 of an inch. So a bit gruntier on the North American ones. Now this is probably the most important test. Which one sounds gruntier? The 9-inch or the 7-inch? They've both got 2 fully charged, fresh 5 amp hour batteries on, so we're ready to go. Let's see what they sound like. This one, 6,000 RPM. This one, 7,800 RPM. Slight difference there. Exactly the same loudness. I now have 2 fully charged 5 amp hour batteries on the 9-inch grinder. We've got a grinding disc on here. Let's go see if we can install this thing. You've really got to put quite a lot of weight on to install that. So I've had this grinder about 7 months now, and it hasn't been used all that much because I don't need to use a grinder that size too often, and it's mostly been used just for cutting steel and grinding steel. I haven't done any concrete work with this, hence why it's not too grubby, unlike the 7-inch. Now I haven't decided which one I want to keep yet out of the 7 and the 9. That's why this video has taken so long. I haven't been able to make up my mind. So in the next video, disclaimer, it may not actually be the next video released on this channel, I'm going to do a comparison side by side of a 5-inch Makita grinder, the 7-inch Makita grinder, and the 9-inch, all brushless. We'll have a look at the 3 of them, see which ones cut the best, which ones grind the best, stall the best, or stall the least, and that sort of thing. And I will make my decision on which one I'm going to keep. But it's a good grinder. If I had to say which one at the moment I would pick out of the 9 and the 7, probably this one, just because, you know, you've got that extra capacity if you need it. But it is slower in the RPM range, so if you're wanting to cut steel, maybe it's not as quick as the other one. I haven't tested that yet. That'll be in the next video. We'll see whether this is as quick as the other one. May have a bit more torque, so it might actually be better. We'll see. Till then, thanks for watching, guys. It wasn't too comprehensive, this review, I know, but in the next video, with the 3 of them up against each other, you can really see how they go and see which one is right for you. All the model numbers will be down in the description below, the North American, European, Australasian model numbers, so have a look down there. If you can't find this model number where you live, it's probably called something different. There is also a model with a AWS Bluetooth chip in it, so that way you can hook it straight up to a vac and it will turn the vac on automatically when you pull the trigger. Not something I need in a grinder personally, but if you need that, that is the 901 instead of the 900. So check out some of these other reviews of grinders. This one is the 5-inch I will be using in the next test. This one is the 7-inch. So check those out, and I will see you on the next one where we compare these.